Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WOR. We are here for probably, if not, well, probably the second most historic track on the circuit, and that's Spa-Francorchamps. And everyone is going out onto the track rather early, so I'm guessing we're going to get some wet weather in qualifying through this point. But I'm going to introduce Joseph before we get onto the track. The ever incredible Joseph alongside me for this WR qualifying race, whatever. We're going to go to track straight away without looking at the standings or whatever that's going on, because Joseph, there's so many cars on circuit, we don't actually know what is going to happen and whether there is going to be wet weather happening to us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep tabs on this qualifying session already because it's actually quite rare you see almost all the drivers. The only car in the pit lane at the moment is F7R Stefano, but everybody else out there on the circuit, everybody else queuing up to start their first flying laps of the session. It's all speculation to whether there's any rain in the air, but with it being overcast, with there being a little bit of that shine on the circuit where it just looks like, you know, having played the game for so long, it looks like the circuit is prepared for rain. It always is around here in Spa, but the lap times are going to come in very quickly indeed.
So we know, obviously, the last couple of weeks where we've had some wet qualifying to dry, especially, Portimao last week, it seems like it's a complete opposite. That's something that, we've not been accustomed to, I suppose, in Tier 1 this season. And instead of it being the last person to set a lap time, it could very well be the first person to set a lap time is the one to beat tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. The first person at the moment, couldn't quite find who it is. It's one of the AlphaTauris. It's agonised. And what a story that would be, by the way, if the Tier 3 driver that's second in the championship took second last night on circuit as well, would go on and take pole position. Now, it doesn't look like that will be the case unless rain rapidly falls on the circuit as it stands, but this is a big opportunity for him, the Romanian driver. We've not really delved into the Tier 3 pool so far this season, so it's a great opportunity to make a name for himself back in Tier 1, because I think he's had several appearances, at least, on last year's game.
Yeah, he was here last game. Made a couple of I say shock appearances. That's really harsh on him. I don't want to say shock appearances. Made a couple of impactful appearances is possibly the best way to describe it. He is half a second down on Cameron Dowds. We know how quick he is, so he shouldn't be too disheartened with that. Flotman is throwing himself into the pit lane. He's not happy with what he's done so far. I suppose the next person really to speak about is either Enzo or Kai Pearsons. Let's go on board with Kai Pearson, as he is championship leader currently. It could all change tonight as he's heading down the old bus stop chicane through the last corner and down the start finish straight he goes. And what can Kai Pearson do? Can he do something to set the world alight again here in WR? And it is currently provisional pole.
Didn't start too well in qualifying last week. That's when it was raining on the intermediate tyres. He pulled it out of the hat very late on and took pole position over Enzo by 0.03 of a second. But so far, with Enzo going almost 0.3 slower, it's not that sort of super close gap between the top two in the championship so far. Joe Murphy is up to third place. He took a podium back in Las Vegas. Shazoo Rick next across the line, he's in the 41s, and that won't be a lap that's anywhere near good enough for provisional pole at the moment. Rain has steered clear so far, so everybody's had a fair opportunity to get their first laps in. F7R Francesco, I thought he might have been impeding there, but both Red Bulls had set their lap times. It's just about being hyper-aware on the circuit, as always.
Definitely, and weirdly, it's not really a street circuit. It's not tight and twisty as we'd know, but you can pick up penalties here and cause people, discomfort, I guess is the best way to describe it, when they're out on track. And here comes Sami Shemsi. I wonder if he's actually on a lap time. I don't think he is, as he's heading through Blanchemont now. He looks quite slow, and I think he's allowing an Alpine. That could very well be Tails coming through. It's not Tails. Tails has invalidated his lap, so it might very well be Quantum just trying to get to the pit quickly. I believe Macho may well be on a lap time, as he was possibly the last person or one of the last people out of the pit lane. His lights show that he's harvesting as he's going through poo on. So I'm not sure if that's actually, if he is on a lap time or not. But he's looking relatively quick for the Ferrari driver at the moment. So let's stay on board with him as he heads through, now entering Sector 3 through Stavolo. And that is his point to go into Sector 3. And we should be able to pick up something from that. But there is an Alpine very much in his way through there.
Yeah, I think he might have backed off on the ERS. Yeah, he's run out of fuel now as well. The red fuel light was flashing. I was wondering if he was going to commit to that one, but they run so low on fuel around here. I think 2.2 laps is the minimum. So if you mess up your first lap and obviously complete it on the circuit to give yourself a delta, you still can't then go in and really set another one, because you would have already used 2 laps of fuel from your out lap and flying lap. And just like that, everybody is back into the pit lane. 14 lap times on the board. We had a bit of a sense of urgency at the start of the session, but I think now everybody's going to take their time to relax, and we'll see some different approaches to these second qualifying laps. But on the other end of the pit lane, Quantum and Cameron Dowds already exiting and already racing down towards Eau Rouge.
So could we see very much a case of... I've had it in the past here where the rain is falling, but it's not wet, if that makes sense. Where, the dry tyres are still the best tyres to be on, but it's still raining. There's deluge. It's coming down, but the Inters aren't the right tyres to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all just about being ahead of the game in preparation. The deltas can obviously be quite an indicator as well of how quickly the track may change. I've not seen any uproar at the moment about the weather, nor for the race. So this could be still the case of we're maybe getting a bit too far ahead of ourselves with any potential rain, but Kai Pearson still in the best place of anybody at the moment. The championship leader, 8 points his lead was cut down to. He did gain 3 over Enzo initially, but Enzo was reinstated back into P2 because he got a 3-second penalty removed. So Kai Pearson looking over his shoulder now. 2 drivers within that race-winning margin, including Liam Bowman as well, on 26. 1 more point, and he would have been 26 points behind, I should say. 1 more point, he would be inside of that. All drivers hungry for the title. All drivers hungry back out there on the circuit.
Definitely, and this is not something we're used to, but maybe it's because it is Spa and it is such a long track that we're seeing the drivers come out more and more. But here comes Cameron Dowds. What can he do? Currently P2 on the qualifying boards. He is such a talent, and Kai Pearson is such a talent as well in his own right, leading this championship. But he's such a hard man to beat as well.
He opened his account last week. 1 point on the board in Portimao. 11 drivers did finish, but he was able to stay in the race, which is not something he could have said about his first 2 WOR Tier 1 appearances. Sadly, the debutant for this season, NLR Knuth, has got a 5-place grid penalty. So World Online Restart will return, make that 10-place grid penalty. I don't know if I said seconds there. It's off to get crossed between the two, and Keke is joined in as well. So it'll be a definite restart after this. There will be a chance to swap over setups. There's always Parc Fermé off now, of course, which means that the drivers have a free choice anyway, regardless of the conditions, regardless of a restart. Cameron Dowds has already invalidated his teammate OP Tim at the first corner. F7R MOBA, just seen him have a massive rear lock into the first corner, and just like that, the sun is coming out. So everything we've been saying about the rain, about a potential downpour, once again, it's all changed in Spa, but for not the reason we were expecting.
Definitely not, and you know what? It's quite true to the Spa microclimate that it's got. It can very much have a downpour, or it could be an absolute sunny paradise. But at the moment, it is very much sunny, and as you quite rightly mentioned, it's not what we expected with an early, grey and dingy kind of looking. It's much better as Cameron Downs throws himself into the pit lane. He's not willing to risk that, and obviously now because of all these penalties that are kicking in, it's not that much of a problem. But people having those tyre life on the softs, I mean, it's very rare to have a soft run through Spa anyway, but it's always nice if there's a late safety car to throw in a set, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, time is of the essence around here as well. He'll just want to be making sure he's leaving himself enough time for the outlap. Quantum, by the way, third quickest, 1,000th off of Cameron Downs. Joe Murphy, invalid, 600ths down in the first sector anyway. Up to second goes Sammy Shemsi, and up to first goes OP Tim in quick succession there. Lap times coming in very quickly. Agonize jumps up to P9. The third place man in the championship, how can he respond? Liam Bowman up to the line and he goes fourth. He gets a lot closer to his main championship rival in Kai Pearson. We await on the response from Enzo. He's coming through the end of sector 2 now, and he's almost a 10th up.
Yeah, Kai is just going for the old bus stop chicane now, and he's going into the pit lane. So let's go on board with Enzo and see what he can do in response. As you, yeah, it's like you had foresight there, where no bother commentating on Kai because he's definitely going in the pit lane, and you were quite right with that. Anyway, Enzo coming through the final now down the start-finish straight, as you could see Kai Pearson's car going into the pits, but it's only P5. It's not enough to challenge Kai Pearson just yet.
It's not. Kai Pearson, again, just one of those laps where he knew he was very quick on the first one. It would have took something to really match or better it on the second. He knows now that there is going to be, no matter what, some lap time there to find on the final run. It does put a bit more pressure on himself as well, but Kai Pearson handles that so well often, doesn't he? 2 poles on the board this season. Challenging for a third. OP Tim yet to have a pole. He's not been here too many times. I think the 3 appearances for Tim this season, 2 points on the board, and once again could be providing a reserve upset for us this evening.
Definitely, and that's what we kind of enjoy about Tier 1 at the moment. There's been a fair few times when unexpected, whether it's reserve or a lower driver, just throwing their weight around and getting a good result. I've just been on board with Tails as he's going through Le Coms, and he literally drove through Le Coms, and that's probably not the best way for it. Let's see, Agonize is throwing himself into the pit lane. So I'm guessing right now it's everyone's dropping themselves back into the pit lane, getting a fresh set of boots on, and it's literally like a one-shot quali all of a sudden.
Yeah, standard end to a qualifying session really, as everybody will come in, change their tyres, use their third available set of softs. Nobody would have been daft enough to go for softer because you do not need 4 sets of softs in a qualifying session at Spa. Even if you mess up a lap, you'll be sort of so short on time that it is really just not worth taking a risk on a 4th set. Tim, by the way, he is a full-time driver. He is in the Mercedes permanently, but we've had so much chopping and changing this season, and even compared to last season, because I was having a look before we started, and there are 2 returning drivers from the grids that started F1 23 console around here on the 4th of August. That's how much it's changed since that opening day.
Wow, some massive stats there. As Macho looks like he is going to be the first driver to set a lap time in these final moments here in Tier 1 of WOR at Spa. It's going to be interesting. He's yet to set a lap time, as has Stefano. They're the 2 drivers to watch out for. We don't know their true pace yet. But Spa, before they start setting their lap times, Spa is quite notorious for its corner cutting penalties and everything, isn't it? You've got Eau Rouge and Radion, where I think a lot of people, they practice that. But then you've got the likes of Stavolo, where you can just clip it a bit too much, can't you? And even Lecombs.
Yeah, No Name as well. Another corner, turn 9 if you prefer numbers. They're always attacking that inside curb, aren't they? And really gambling on their car sticking, and obviously with it being medium to high speed in cornering, there is always the chance of them running wide and overstepping that white line. Stavolo as well, as you mentioned, even turning in too soon at the bus stop can often cause a few problems, but it will be Macho up first, 19th at the moment. Again, another driver who's just sort of come in to the Tier 1 setting, but able to adapt, been fairly competitive at times. Back to Monaco on Tuesday night in the WOR Legacy Division. He did have a few wheel problems, so whether that's hampered his start to his qualifying this evening, hopefully this sort of yields for him in terms of what his wheel can do for him into the first corner at La Source. 19 more to go around the course of the circuit, and it's flat out from here all the way to Lake Om.
It's a difficult bit for him. Radion Rouge, is he going to go flat out all the way through? It should be, and it looks like it's very simple for him as he heads on down the Kemmel Straight now. That little kink to the right, which is turn 6 as he heads on down. DRS is open. He looks quite comfortable at the moment as he heads into Sector 2, and obviously we don't know a sector split for him yet as he hasn't set a lap time as he heads on down through into turn 10, and hopefully it's nice and tight as he goes through and then puts the power back on. And it's a little bit of an odd one here, isn't it? Turn 10 and 11. You want to be as to the outside of the exit of turn 10, but then the outside of the entry of turn 11. So you're swinging yourself back into it, into Pouon through turn 12, and then into this campus section here as it's nice and tight again. It's a little less section, and then into sector 3, and this is where really you can lose a lot of time.
Yeah, you can indeed, but it's all looking very tidy at the moment for Shizou Macho again. Once you've unleashed it, coming off of 15, it's flat all the way to the bus stop chicane, and Enzo's got a penalty. And loads of drivers have missed out, actually. Francesco is one of them. He'd cut the final corner. I can't believe I didn't pick up on this. So many drivers have missed the checkered flag, including the man second in the championship in Enzo. Unbelievable scenes there as Macho will get the ball rolling in terms of lap times, crossing the line, jumps up to 14th. Not particularly significant in terms of how this championship will play out. Knuth will start 19th. That's if Stefano doesn't get a lap time on the board. He had invalidated. It will be Mercedes up next. OP Tim, by the way, has invalidated. Our provisional pole sitter will not improve either.
Let's see what Cameron Dowds can do as he heads into the bus stopper chicane. It's a little bit late into turn 19 there, which could affect him a little bit, but across the line, and it is going to be third for him for the time being. So OP Tim is currently provisional pole sitter, but Kai Pearson is heading through Blanchimont now and down into the bus stop chicane. Can he displace the Mercedes driver? He's currently the ham, I suppose you could say, in a Mercedes sandwich down to the start-finish line for the Red Bull driver. It's pole provisionally for him, but there's still some cracking drivers to set a lap time, and Sammy Shemzi is one of them.
Kai Pearson then on course for his third pole of the season, but Sammy Shemzi, as you said, is still valid. F7R Flotman is still valid. Another driver that's graduated from Tier 2 at the midway point this season, rounds the final corner and goes 6th. Only 9,000th improvement there. Sammy Shemzi a 10th up. Can he maintain that? I think he was on the front row. I'm not sure. It was either second or third. It was third for Sammy Shemzi. I don't know how close it was, but the McLaren in on the act once again. Let's see the delta, 1.5 tenths.
That is such a good lap time. And Tim, well, OP Tim will be very happy that he didn't actually have to. It didn't come back to bite him. That he fell further down the order with his invalidation on his last run. But it is Kai Pearson that will take pole for the third time this season. OP Tim in second place. Sammy Shemzi in third. Fourth is Cameron Dowds. Fifth is a Scotsman of Liam Bowman. Sixth is Flotman. Seventh is Enzo, who wasn't able to get across the line in time to set a final lap time. Quantum in eighth. Ninth to Gabor. And Joe Murphy in 10th place. Then we've got Furious, Keke, Agonize, Moba, Rick, Macho, Tails, Stefano, Francesco and Knuth. And wow, what a way to get qualifying in and over and done with there. Some penalties to sort out, so we are as well done line restart as it's quite unfortunately commonly known at times here. But it does mean we can look through and maybe have a look at the current standings. Let's have a look at the current standings. As we mentioned, Enzo 8 points behind Kai Pearson and Liam Bowman, just that 1 point of being within a race victory, of getting back up there. But all it takes is Kai Pearson and Enzo to have an absolute terrible race and Liam Bowman to take a victory. And all of a sudden, he's 1 point behind Kai Pearson and a championship is within his grasp.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that victory last week was emphatic, might I add. The start that he got from fourth on the grid, he was up into first by the time he got to lap 5, and then he just kept extending and extending and extending. He had an 8-second lead wiped out by the safety car on lap 19, and then still won by 6 seconds. A phenomenal performance. Nobody was really beating him last week, and that is just the type of driver that he is. He is not going to give up on this championship. He's got Austria and China to come after this, and well, he might be in an even more motivated place following the results tonight, which of course in this restart period you just don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, all it takes is, well, it's like always, all it takes is one race, and sometimes it can be an absolute dammer, or sometimes it can absolutely propel you into a brilliant place. Loads of drivers obviously getting themselves back into the lobby, so do bear with us until that is done and dusted. Sami Shemsi, though, only 30 points behind, and after a really good qualifying session here, he's we can't count him out either.
No, we can't. Sami Shemsi, he had a rough ride in the middle part of the season. No points in both of the US rounds in Texas and in Las Vegas, but he's picked it up since then, scoring 32 points in his last 3 races. No podium since Silverstone, but it's been that recent consistency where Kai Pearson has sort of lacked it. He's had the rough ride as well as Kai, so yeah, it's about the time in the season where he's finally able to just sort himself out after the rough period, and don't count him out of this championship either. And
obviously, we're looking at Kai, the lead, I suppose, Red Bull driver. Not that there is really teams with this format of WOR, but Shizou Rick has had some great results recently, but tonight's just so far not gone right for him.
No, it hasn't. I mean, I think it was a massive bonus for him. P4 in Mexico and P5 in Portugal. I think he would have massively taken that. Coming into that Red Bull seat, we know he had such high potential, of course, which is why he came forward and took the Red Bull seat. It's had historically high value over the course of this and last season. Let's not forget that as well. It's come with a fair bit of pressure, but has been knocking on the door for podiums as well. And again, at this point in the season, there are going to be drivers coming in hot in terms of form and really disrupting some of the championship pecking orders.
Definitely. Thank you very much for the invite as well. But let's
all right.
Remind us of last week's results. We saw how emphatically Liam Bowman took victory, and you know what? It was very much everything was against him, but he still managed to, show his strength, I suppose, at a difficult Portimao track.
It was beautiful. I mean, he was just finding grip, I think I called it at the time, on any part of the circuit. And that just, he was a class above, honestly. There is no other way to put his performance. Really, the 10 drivers that you see on the screen at the moment is pretty much who went on and finished the race. There was P11, which I think was Louis Valentin, but he went on to the intermediates at the end of the race. And there was a collision, and it never really worked out for him. But yeah, a massive step forward again, because Liam Bowman hadn't even been on the podium since his last win in Silverstone. So another massive boost for him, and he takes that confidence again into Belgium.
Obviously, we're mentioning the 11th man of Portugal, Louis Valentin. He's not here tonight. Is it championship over?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's been a strange week for him, and outplayed racing, that whole debacle. I'm not surprised that maybe he's just decided that tonight wasn't for him. Maybe he just couldn't make it, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail about that. But yeah, for him, I'm sure the next chapter is awaiting. He's had some periods on PC as well, and so maybe that just sort of marks the end, and we just have a breakaway top 4.
Definitely, time will tell. We'll have another look at the standings anyway, to say the least. And you got Furious, who's here tonight as well. Had that great run in Monaco, which has propelled him up there. But I don't want to say he's a one-trick pony, but he really needs to show just a little bit more. Just, it's only 23 points out of that win, which he's got.
Apologies, my game has just crashed. I'm just scrambling around a little bit confused there. But either way, He needs to show something else other than Monaco, basically. That race fell absolutely perfect for him. Pole position, took the race win from pole. But unfortunately, he's just not been able to hit those same heights, which, if Monaco is your highest point in the season, then it really cannot get much better for Furious. But either way, there is a P5 awaiting him on the table, depending on the situation of Louis Valentin. And I think if you asked him that at the start of the season, would he take a top 5 in the WR Tier 1 Championship, he would have said yes.
Joe Murphy, currently 8th in the championship overall. I mean, we've seen parts of his great racecraft and ability, but I don't want to say it's few and far between, but it's some race incidents, and it's just not fallen his way for him.
No, he's had 5 non-point scoring races this season. He has raced in every round, which is some pretty unwavering commitment, might I add. Not something that everybody can boast over the course of the season. But he randomly scored 45 points in 3 races. And then, unfortunately, we've just not seen that again from him. So hopefully he can turn that around. There's been a few cases such as tonight, late invalidations on laps, racing incidents at the first corner. It could be pretty quickly to just come into the pit lane and retire, as we've often seen throughout the season as well. So Joe Murphy hopefully can end this season on a high note.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and there's not many rounds left here in WOR for the remainder of the season. Let's have a quick look at the calendar before we go down. Obviously, round 9 is Belgium, which we are at tonight. Austria is round 10, which is next week. It's not possible for Kai to wrap it up. I don't think this week. So next week he could do, depending on tonight's result. But the way things are going, I don't think he will do. And then a finale at China, which is definitely, and Chinese Grand Prix is definitely going to cause fireworks.
Yeah, well, it's not a circuit we usually associate with a traditional finale as such, but we go from Belgium, the longest circuit on the calendar in terms of lap time, to the shortest in terms of lap time in Austria, and then China to finish off the season with some late lunges into that hairpin. I don't even want to think about it if we have a championship on the line going into the final round of the season in 2 weeks' time. That could be pretty chaotic indeed.
Oh, definitely. Going into that, well, as long as there's no major car problems. Obviously, we saw the Toro Rosso lose its wheels going down there in the past. We probably won't see that on the game. I don't think it's that well in tuned for that sort of thing. And if it does happen, and to a championship rival, I think they will go absolutely nuts. But yeah, it's going to be an entertaining one. If there is a championship down to the wire, I think you could see maybe a Senna Prost-esque situation, and that would be controversial. But I tell you what, WR likes a bit of controversy at times.
There's always been gamesmanship. It's ran right through the history of the league. There's been some moments in recent years as well. The DRS at the Imola recently springs to mind. I know you were commentating that one. It's always one of your favourites to go back to, but it still happens. It is still very much a feature on the game. It's, in my opinion, closed down a team this week based on recent events in the community. But the less said about that, we are loading in to the race here in Belgium. Hopefully we've not kept you waiting for too long. You're all sort of used to restarts right now, so thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah, and I tell you what, we've had that controversy at the Imola, and there's also controversy a lot around Austria, which is our next round, where we had championship Alfie, championship rival of Alfie, and going in, I think it was 3 wide. I can't remember the other 2 drivers at the time. He was going in the middle car into turn 4. And I remember sitting in a party with Luke trying to figure out whose fault it was for ages afterwards. it was, and that's the thing, you know, people. I don't want to say it's. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and that's why you know, there's a lot of love for WR because of the stewardship and everything that's run behind the scenes. And you know, thank you very much for those. It's not an easy job, but we are waiting for everything to get settled. Obviously, Kai Pearson's on pole here tonight. Chat, let us know who you think is going to take victory tonight. Joseph, I'll pass that question on to you as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to load up the race director because it often means I have to leave the game, but... Ooh, can I see a bit of Kai Pearson redemption? It's tough from pole. He did lose the win last season to Reece Linton because he stayed out on the wet tyres. If he can pull away in the manner that other drivers have been able to over the course of the season, I don't think there'll be much stopping him indeed. But I'm going to go for Tim. I feel like he'll be backing himself from second on the grid, much like how Matteo did back in Singapore. Might not fancy himself, but over the course of this race, why not?
Yeah, we'd love to see a polar bear in Arkansas again, because that would be pretty amazing. But yeah, we'll wait and see. It's definitely going to be just around the corner. The drivers are just setting their setups ready, so please bear with us just that little bit more, and we'll get to the racing action as soon as it starts here in WOR. But you know what? Cameron Dowd starting quite high up. Touch wood, he has no issues. But you know what? Can he do something from his place in the race? Is it, or from qualifying, I should say? We know how quick he can be, but Tier 1 is a different kettle of fish.
It is, and unfortunately it's all been bad luck from his point of view. You cannot fault anything that he has done. He's been competitive in pretty much every qualifying session, other than last week where he didn't switch over to the dry tyres in due enough course, but I think that is a mistake he'll put behind him. Clear conditions today, hopefully clear. We're away from the storms now, I think, even in Scotland, so no power cuts, no Wi-Fi outage either. Clear road, hopefully good points for Cameron Dowd.
Definitely. And then obviously let's talk about Enzo quickly. You know, a championship is on the line for him. He needs to outscore Kai Pearson.
Yeah, I mean there was a costly mistake with a 3-second penalty last week. He had the track position. Fortunately, he was able to get it removed, but he'll have that in the back of his mind as well. It's not just about beating Kai Pearson on the circuit, but making sure he does it in a way where he's not having to clutch at straws and be getting penalties removed as well. I know it's not always his fault, but, you know, got to be thinking about that as well.
Definitely. And just a few more minutes and hopefully the race will be underway here at Belgium. And here we are going to be underway. We are on 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in Spa for WOR round 9, and away we go. And it looks like a pretty decent start for Kai Pearson on this occasion. Cuts over, and it looks like Sam Shemsi's had a brilliant start. OP Tim and Cameron Dowds are also battling away. This is absolutely terrible for OP Tim. I think he's dropped down a fair few positions, but his teammate has done massive. And look at this, side by side with Liam Bowman and OP Tim as they go up Eau Rouge and Radion.
Yeah, Tim has started on the hard tyres, as has Sammy Shemsi, so that is one valuable position really lost at the start of this race. Big gap, actually, between Kai Pearson and Cameron Dowds. That will leave Kai under no pressure at all. There goes Liam Bowman around the outside of OP Tim, almost colliding into the back of Sammy Shemsi. And there goes Flotman as well, around the outside at turn 7 at Malmedy. Brilliant move there, and Tim is unfortunately continuing to go backwards, and he may do so for the remainder of this lap and on the start of next, as those hard tyres are going to be taking a while to be competitive in the race. There's another position lost to Enzo, and here's Quantum, also on the soft tyres, ahead at P1.
I'm just looking on Liam Bowman, who's all over the back of Sammy Shemsi as he head on down into turn 13. It's a relatively easy move for Liam Bowman in the end, and Flotman is trying to find a way through as they go through Stavelon now. But, is it, obviously the tyres are going to come back to them towards the end of the race, but is it going to be too little too late at that point?
It might be. It's a massive bit of bravery from OP Tim. It has to go so favourably for him in terms of timing from now on. You cannot just rely on yourself overcutting and making however many overtakes, because there'll be still people behind on the mediums, on the hards, that will also be making undercuts as well. Stefano and Agonize side by side. Agonize holding on there at the final corner. There's action at turn 1, I think. Even before that, as Flopman's going to go down the inside from a long way back at La Source, and he sees Sami Shemsi vulnerable on those hard tyres. With ease, he picks him off at the first corner.
That was really interesting, actually, because the switchback was originally made by Sami Shemsi into the bus stop chicane. So Flopman was regaining the position, and now he's going to be absolutely swamped by his teammate and Quantum as they head on down the Camel Straight and into Lacombe. And it looks like Enzo's trying to give his teammate a little bit of slipstream, but it's never going to happen as they head into Lacombe. And this is, well, he's dropping down the order as quickly as OP Tim is, but he's putting up a massive fight, and Gabor behind trying to go through as well. But there is that break in the chain between Liam Bowman and Flopman, which could prove absolutely critical.
You have to come prepared for all situations in Spa. The hard runners will have to acknowledge the fact that they have had the most of their early damage done at this stage as well. F7R Flopman knows that really his majority of his race relies on being able to stay in the DRS. Luckily, he has just enough ERS to be able to use as well. He has used the most out of anyone in the top 5, but that is purely just to try and keep himself competitive. I don't think there's much arguing now that he is within 1 second, but there'll be instruction to the top 3. Their race engineers, respectively, going to try and keep this train separated, because it'll only make their race at the front a whole lot easier. 1 second as we go on to lap 3, where the DRS is enabled. The first real bite of the cherry will be...
I think you went on lag there, unfortunately, Joseph. I think I got most of what you said there, but Sami Shemsi is desperate to keep in front, keep connected to Quantum as best as he can, as Kai Pearson loses the lead to Cameron Dowds from DRS, and these two might work together. There is a 1.3 second gap between Kai Pearson, who has now been overtaken by Liam Bowman as well, to Flopman behind.
Yeah, that 1 second gap has opened up. Flopman, it relied on him. Hopefully I'm not so laggy anymore. If you could let me know, because my Wi-Fi just went completely pear-shaped. That's fine. We'll stick with this for the next few minutes at least. Liam Bowman's all over the back of Cameron Dowds. It's a Scottish 1-2. It's Kai Pearson in third, having dropped from the race lead. And Flopman still fighting on desperately. And I think Cameron Dowds, having the race lead for the first time, has given Flopman a lifeline in terms of staying within a second.
Yeah, definitely. Because Flopman now is only 0.7 of a second behind Kai Pearson. I think everything that's gone down has actually helped Flopman, but he's got to make sure he stays with it, because as he comes through Blanchimont, he seems to be losing ground again. Here comes Liam Bowman on Cameron Downs. Will there be an issue going into the bus stop? There isn't. They're very, very close together, though, these three. And you know what? You could barely separate with them with a piece of paper, I don't think.
No, you can't. It is so hard to draw the lines between drivers at Spa, especially where nobody wants the lead. And we're seeing that again with Cameron Dowds. We seem absolutely swarmed by a pack of V6 turbo hybrids as they climb up to the top of Radion. Liam Bowman gets that slingshot. You're slipstreaming all the way down the hill, all the way back up it, and as soon as they get the DRS open, Liam Bowman's ahead. Kai Pearson makes it 3 wide. They both quickly sweep past Cameron Dowds. Kai Pearson on the inside of Liam Bowman, and once again from third, he has the race lead once again. It'll be a long battle like this, often 2-3 wide on every single lap of this race, as Gabor goes down the inside of Sami Shemsi. This contact, and Gabor slids really with those front wheels into the side pod down the inside of turn 8, and the Hungarian driver is going to have a big recovery job now.
Yeah, he's probably going to want a safety car, isn't he? But all this, you know what? It is helping the hard runners of Sami Shemsi and OP Tim, because at the moment they're able to keep within the DRS range. I mean, maybe not OP Tim, because he's just outside it. But then instead of racing you're racing with the drivers around you instead of you're racing your tyres, and then they're going to have that better tyre life and the tyre wear and the better tyre choice at the end of the Grand Prix. Enzo is still, well, he's up into fourth. He's got past Flopman as well, and he may not be in the lead battle at the moment, but he's not far off it.
No, he's not. And overtaking Flopman, very, very vital for him, because he must have been perceiving Flopman as the potential break in the train. It was fluctuating, wasn't it, that gap? It's sort of stabilised now, and I think Enzo is happy to take this responsibility and try and close them back up. Gabor retires in the pit lane. That collision was enough to see our first retirement of the race so far. Again, very difficult to recover around here in Belgium. Here comes Liam Bowman, slipstreaming, DRS enabled. He's not going to lift off. He'll commit to taking the race lead once again. But this time, Cameron Dowds holds on to third. So we haven't seen that double manoeuvre. Just Liam Bowman taking the lead on course, you'd think, for his third race win of the season. But if only it was that straightforward.
Unfortunate for Shazoo Rick picking up a 3-second time penalty. Everyone in this lower half of the train, we got to remember, is on a set of hard tyres. They're doing something different. Obviously, Sammy Shemsey and OP Tim also doing something different. Tails and Joe Murphy are on a set of mediums, which is doing something different. It's not usual. It's nice. We've got a multitude of different strategies on offer to us tonight, and you know what? Some people might be waiting for a safety car. Some people might just be doing their own thing.
Yeah, I think at this stage it is completely, everybody just focusing on themselves for the time being. Everyone's in the train. Nobody really has to worry about a safety car because the hards are not really in a suitable pit window. The softs, I mean, do you want to be taking mediums or hards to the ends from here? There'll be constant reminders that that option is there for them if the time comes. But at the moment, it's just not necessary. As we start lap 6 of 22, massive, massive recharges going on for Kai Pearce, who's almost topped up his entire battery. That's pretty much the same for the majority of the top 4, as Sammy Shemsey goes down the inside once again of Quantum. And are the hards starting to come back into this? That's a big indicator, that move.
Definitely, but we say that, but Sammy's always been a little bit racy on those tyres, as we see Liam Bowman and Kai have a little bit of a battle. But Cameron Dowds is a bit too far back, I think, to get in on this at the moment. And Liam Bowman and Kai just swapping places. Avatar says in the chat that Kai just needs to beat Enzo every race. Doesn't matter if he wins the GP, he'll be champion. Not necessarily because of Liam Bowman. Liam Bowman is a massive jigsaw puzzle here.
He is. He's closing. He closed in Portugal. He will continue to close if you give him the opportunity. Avatar, you are right in saying that the objective for Kai, beat Enzo. But when you've got Liam Bowman in this sort of position, you cannot just let up and focus on that being your primary advantage. There's 2 cars for Kai Pearson to beat still. They're 2 seconds off their quickest lap times of the race so far. That's how much conservation is going on in terms of these tyres in order to be able to put the mediums on for the remainder of the race when the time comes, to charge their batteries and to keep it healthy for when they need to be pushing on those in laps and out laps. This is a stage in the race where they're thinking about the long term. That's what does tend to make for some feisty endings, to some entertaining endings, even though it's not been all that heavy on overtaking so far.
No, this is what I love about Spa. It's very much a strategic mastermind sort of race. Because Sammy Shemsey, currently in P6, on a set of hards, people will just be currently right now thinking, oh, everyone's on the same set of tyres. It's not like that at all. Sammy's just playing his game, and you know what? He's looking at overtaking Flopman as they head down the Kemmel Straight. He's getting closer. I don't think it's going to be close enough this time into Lecombs, but maybe next lap. You know what? Sammy is going to be the one to watch.
These drivers are eagle-eyed. Sammy Shemsey will be watching Flopman right now, literally, through his own eyes, the car in front of him, and assessing where those tyres are starting to become a little bit weaker. And if you can get the overtake done, not even on the DRS straight if he can avoid it, because, well, Flopman can defend a whole lot easier down a DRS straight, because the advantage Sammy would get is neutralised by the fact that Flopman has DRS on the car in front himself. So if there's an opportunity earlier on, he will try and take that. As you can see, a little bit wide there for Flopman, but it's difficult to follow for Sammy Shemsi as well. Let's not kid ourselves when we say that all drivers are facing that early phase. The tyres starting to degrade, the early 25% sort of period that the drivers like to reference when it comes to the drop-off of the tyres on this game. Nothing really to report then on lap 7, but it's still the Sammy Shemsi fight through the field we are monitoring.
Definitely, and I mean, we would hazard a guess that he's probably going to go onto a set of softs at the end of the race, but mediums is an option as well. Go a little bit earlier and counter. You never know what's going through a driver's head and what the engineers are saying to their drivers about what the other drivers are doing, and that's the beautiful thing about this. I think Kai Pearson's going to take a move to the lead, but also Sammy Shemsi is alongside Flopman and takes P5, and he's got his teammate ahead of him.
And it was down the Kemmel Straight where he made that move. I stand a little bit corrected in that sense, but again, it was that run, it was that confidence from Sammy Shemsi, knowing that if he could just get alongside F7R Flopman, he is not going to be able to respond with his degrading tyres at this stage. Next car, Enzo. That will be a whole lot easier for him. They'll be in direct communication. They'll be assessing what's best for them for this race. And that perhaps at the moment is Sammy Shemsi marching on and trying to see how much time he can extract out of those hard tyres, because it's a lot more in terms of potential than what his teammates got right now.
Yeah. They're obviously, like you mentioned quite rightly, they're in direct communication, but what is best for them right now? Is it best to get Enzo to pass Kai in the championship, or is it best to get Sammy involved in the championship as well? It's a very open-ended question.
There's some weaving going on. I don't know if they're trying to give us a message. Yeah, both drivers in on it. Is this a scheduled swap that's coming up? It won't be at the bus stop chicane. But Enzo is not too far off the back of Cameron Dowd. So that's a pit stop for Enzo. He's coming particularly early in comparison to some of the others. At the end of lap 8, the weaving that was in question is because Enzo is going for the undercut. And
that is going to, trigger a lot through all this onto a set of mediums for the McLaren driver of Enzo, as we continue to watch Sammy Shemsi as he pops up Eau Rouge and Radion into the Kemmel Straight. He comes, but a little bit further behind Cameron Downs, as we see Liam Bowman and Kai Pearson make the swap again. And this is where obviously the hard runners are definitely going to be the drivers to watch right now. But Joe Murphy down in 8th place at the moment on a set of mediums. It's a bit of a question mark still hanging over him at the moment.
Yeah, indeed, he is the lead medium runner. Tails as well, the Brazilian driver, making his first appearance of the season tonight as well. He's just been stuck in this train, and much like Moba, he's not really been able to go anywhere, even on the superior compound at the start of the race. Enzo, it'll be the gap to leader we're looking out for, 18.4 seconds to Liam Bowman, and closing in by tenths every single corner of the circuit at this stage. There will be some response, otherwise Enzo will just have seconds worth of advantage at the front of the field, and it will become more difficult for those leaving it later to then go on and overtake him.
It's saying Sammy Shemsi is a 1 second behind Cameron Dowds, but it definitely looks a lot closer than that on screen. It's now up to 0.7 of a second. I'm not sure if there's a little bit of a desync right now, but into the pits there is everyone driving in apart from Kai Pearson. Kai Pearson has decided to stay out.
Kai Pearson doing what Kai Pearson does best, and taking a risk when he really needs to get this one right, doesn't he? Into the pits. Everybody that's come in has gone for the mediums, as you would expect on a soft medium circuit. And here comes Enzo. He's ahead by the time they get to La Source. Liam Bowman will cut the corner on the inside. There goes Enzo with the exit. And I tell you what, that is not bad at all for Liam Bowman, because he's perfectly picked up the DRS and should be able to sail right on through here. Enzo will be playing the hold-up game, otherwise he pulls to the left-hand side. It's very straightforward for Liam Bowman. That's not bad timing at all to pit a lap later and still emerge ahead.
That is some good smarts, I suppose you could say, from Liam Bowman. And they are careering towards Kai Pearson right now. 16.1 seconds is the gap. And that is a lot better than it was this time last lap for Enzo to Kai Pearson, because it was 18 seconds, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly there. And it's getting closer and closer. It's now down to 15.6 seconds. So Liam Bowman's absolutely on a charge. And Kai Pearson, I mean, he's got a lot to do at the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, he does, and Sami Shemsi is on him here, and he might even get him going into Blanchimont. It's massively brave to do this up the inside, and he thinks better of it, backing out there before they reach the fastest corner on the circuit, without any doubt. In towards the bus stop chicane, will Kai Pearson come in? Yes, he does, as does Sami Shemsi. So all that harassing he did on the front runners that were on softs, Sami Shemsi is just going to copy them like for like with their strategy. Will he go for the mediums or the softs? Possibly the mediums. I think the softs were degrading too quickly, and it is the medium tyres. He matches Kai Pearson.
I mean, we look at that and we go, it's questionable. Starting on the hards, is he doing this just to be safe?
Yeah, no doubt about it. He won't want to leave himself out there and with too much to do at the end of the race. Hards are your best bet for being adaptable to those sorts of situations, so I can see why he's done that. By the way, Kai Pearson on Quantum pit a lap earlier. Flotman goes through as well. Poor Quantum, without the DRS, just sees a Red Bull and a Ferrari go straight past him.
Yeah, that is... well, you look at that, Kai Pearson is so... I don't want to say so far behind, but it feels like he's so far behind Enzo and Liam Bowman now. It must be a little bit disheartening for him, but obviously his race engineer is going to be definitely in his ear saying, don't worry, still your time.
Still your time. There is an element of motivation as well as the statisticians in that engineer role at the moment. And here, Liam Bowman is fighting hard, isn't he? He's got a full battery. He is just 2 tenths behind on the racetrack. He knows that it is going to be his race to lose over the course of the remaining half of the race that we have left. Cameron Dowd still in the hunt as well. Fantastic story if he can go and get his first podium here this evening. But he'll have to beat Liam Bowman and Enzo, both in front of Kai Pearson. Both know how much weight is on their shoulders in order to close in on this championship leader. Kai Pearson in a net 4th.
Yep, a few pit stops happening now. Furious is in, as is Stefano. I believe they will go very much onto a set of mediums now, but we still have yet to pit from Joe Murphy, OP Tim, Keke, Tails, Rick, Francesco, yes, Kanoth, yet so far to pit, which we're not sure what they're going to do, probably going on to a set of softs. But here comes Liam Bowman taking Enzo as they head down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, indeed. Fairly straightforward move again with the DRS, and Kai Pearson has lost 2 positions by virtue of no DRS. Flotman goes through, Quantum goes through. Quantum, who was the unlucky one on the previous lap, now finds himself in the middle of those 2 highly competitive drivers when it comes to how close they have been to each other for the majority of the season. Quantum has had some brilliant moments himself. Let us not doubt him at all, and Enzo spun! Oh, he's hit the inside curb at Puan! I just saw a McLaren careering across my screen, and that is absolutely massive!
What a moment for Enzo, and it could very well hand Kai just that breathing room he needs.
Oh, Enzo, I was mentioning mistakes, I was mentioning the penalties which you can't afford to get. It's a spin this time, which has cost him so dear. He did that undercut. He got the track position from it, from 4th he was at the time, and he's just thrown it all away. I can't believe it.
And Kai Pearson making a move back on Quantum, down through Blanchimont, and into the pits come some of the other drivers that have yet to pit through all this, and 3 drivers remaining: Joe Murphy, Tails, and Francesco, yet to pit. But Liam Bowman, a 1.1 second gap over Cameron Dowds, and Flopman has that little bit of a buffer to the championship leader of Kai Pearson, which could be a I don't want to say a problem, but could be a benefit to Liam Bowman.
Liam Bowman has seen this gap widen. He's seen one of his main rivals that he's trying to close down, other than Kai Pearson, to finish second in this championship at the very least, spin out in the space of the last lap. The door has opened so wide for Liam Bowman. It now depends on Cameron Dowds, Flopman, Kai Pearson, Sammy Shemsey and Quantum, all in a train of 5 in behind him. The middle of those two, really, on those fresher medium tyres. Even by 1 lap, it is enough to make the difference. It is going to be enough to cause a little bit of a stir throughout the remainder of this race. Stefano with a 3-second penalty. Lot of penalties concentrated towards the back end of the grid, but our points-paying fight, our significant one, is being spearheaded by Liam Bowman, who's overtaken Francesco. There's going to be no traffic there. If Francesco stays out, though, it could be a problem for the cars behind.
Well, that is a very, very solid move from Liam Bowman at the end of turn 16 there, and he's got to hope that Francesco doesn't pit this lap. But I think, he has thrown himself into the pits, which hasn't helped Liam Bowman at all. But into the pits as well go Joe Murphy, so it's just tails. But Liam Bowman, that the really, really good move from the Scotsman.
Yeah, it was. He found him on the circuit at a perfect time, you have to say, leading on to that back straight, and therefore was able to get that move done. He now has DRS on tails, and you can see in the distance a red light flashing on the rear end of that Alpine, who leads a WOR Tier 1 race for the first time this season. Nice achievement, but it will come crashing down when he unfortunately has to make that thing called a mandatory pit stop. Keke now with a penalty as well. He's been pretty out of the action so far as well. Stefano drops 2 places. Could be some contact here as Macho and Tim go side by side. Agonized getting through on Stefano as well. That's brave at Malmedy. Down the inside. Almost forces Stefano off the road. We've not forgotten that there's a bit of a fight down here. And Stefano still tried to hang on. Can't do so. Kai Pearson has a penalty.
That is huge news there. I've had to stay on board with the battle for the lead, because Cameron Dowds has caught massively up to Liam Bowman. Liam Bowman's finally got his way past Tails and is hoping Tails is going to cause a little bit of a backlog as they head on through Stavolo and through turn 16. Up they come, and it just looks like as they hit Blanchimont, there is a queue of cars desperate to get past this Alpine. Through goes Flopman, through goes Cameron Dowds, through goes Kai Pearson. That was very opportunistic, and that was very, very good to be said and done through there. And somehow, all of a sudden, it's all come back together. It's like an accordion, and it's all being brought back together. The race starts being pulled apart, but then it's just been put back together. But Kai Pearson getting a penalty is absolutely huge.
That is huge indeed, and there's contact on the exit of La Source as Flopman almost didn't see Kai Pearson potentially in his blind spot there, and he will be fighting up towards the top of Radion then, and look how close they are. Francesco's retired in the pit lane. That's both Hasses now out of the race. Cameron Dowds is trying to defend by slipstreaming Liam Bowman. He might have to be forced into making this move. They're going to be wheel to wheel going into Lake Com. Kai Pearson and Flopman stay in the positions they started the straight in, but Cameron Dowds, like I said, was sort of forced into that move, and again will be the one under pressure on the least amount of ERS.
Whew, goodness me, that was some sort of camel straight here, and we've on lap 15 of 22. Like you quite rightly mentioned, we've lost both Haas drivers of Francesco and Gabor, and that's unfortunate for Haas and not ideal at all. Cameron Dowds trying to pull away a little bit at the moment, but he's got Liam Bowman all over the back of him. Flopman has got Kai Pearson all over the back of him. But that I'm going to keep on going back to him. That 3-second time penalty, we said about Enzo and everything there. But you know what? It's it's just as it's prudent for Kai not to get these penalties, because Liam Bowman is going to be absolutely grinning as he heads on down to the bus stop chicane. Can Liam Bowman do anything, or does he want to do anything before the Kemmel Straight?
I don't think so. That is the key point on the circuit, where the drivers would just reserve everything for that one moment. By the way, Furious, 4 seconds behind. These guys are fighting so hard. They are slowing each other up. Yes, they're having that burst of speed down the Kemmel Straight, as Macho now retires in the pit lane as well. They're having the burst of speed. They're then slowing each other up in Sector 2 because they're all so close. They're all giving each other space. They know they can't make the contact. Here comes the move for Liam Bowman. Here it comes for Kai Pearson, and he gets the slipstream from Liam Bowman. It opens up nicely for him to thread the needle through the middle and go down the inside to take the lead on track. But this could plummet as low as P6 as Tim gets past Furious. That might disrupt his attempt to catch up. But yeah, Kai Pearson will drop to 6th if it stays like this.
Well, we say about Furious catching up. Tim could catch up. He's on even lesser worn tyres. And that is something definitely to watch out for. And we mentioned about Furious being, earlier on in the show, just being the one-horse pony of, or the one-trick pony of Monaco. He's definitely getting that out of the bag if he can get himself back up into this one right now. But Sammy Shemsi is all over the back of this man, Flopman. He's desperate to get a move done because he knows he can be up there and getting some really big points tonight.
Yeah, he can. It's certainly feeling the pressure. I mean, I'm feeling it, and I'm not even involved in this race in any way. Sammy Shemsi is through on Flopman. There was a closing gap, but a big enough one for the Canadian driver to get himself back in contention as well. Joe Murphy's overtaken Enzo. He's lost all momentum since that spin. He pit the earliest out of anybody. And having lost all that track position, he was only going to go further backwards. Sammy Shemsi up into 4th. This is a net 3rd now as well. His season had recovered. As I mentioned earlier on, it's continuing to follow that sort of trajectory. But can he get past Cameron Dowds, Liam Bowman on the lap fresher tyres that he has?
Yeah, it's, Sammy's doing a wonderful job. He's already attacking Cameron Dowds before the DRS is open on the Kemmel Straight, not the Camel Straight. That sounds like down the strip of maybe Abu Dhabi or something. But Sammy Shemsi through, and next up is Liam Bowman.
Yeah, indeed. This is a massive, massive move. And Liam Bowman and Kai Pearson, they are going to be racing quite frequently, you'd imagine, in the WOR Legacy Division. They know what it's going to be like to be teammates and work together. It's such a difficult dilemma because Liam Bowman has the net race leads on the circuit by virtue of that 3-second penalty. They both know that giving Sammy Shemsi points will contract this championship race even more. There is so much to think about in what we have left of this race. There is just 5 laps left, but Sammy Shemsi is looking like the quickest man on circuit, no doubt about it. Even sliding through Stavolo there, as this opportunity seems to be growing ever larger for him.
Into Blanchimont, and Kai Pearson has Liam Bowman for company, and then Sammy Shemsi just behind that. And you know what, Luke's saying if Kai ends up 7th, it's not all that bad for Enzo. It's still not what he would have wanted, but he's right. Enzo currently 13th. He won't lose that many positions because of that penalty to Kai Pearson.
It reminds me very much of the Singapore situation. Kai Pearson came out of that race pointless, but so did Enzo. And he'll look back on this season and go, these are the sort of races where I needed to be absolutely putting in the maximum in terms of what I can gain. It won't be the maximum anymore, but he can only limit the damage. Liam Bowman doesn't commit and make that move around the outside. That also keeps Sammy Shemsi at bay because they can form a little bit of a blockade at the end of the Kemmel Straight, can't they? And just sort of say no to what Sammy Shemsi is trying to do, and that is take the net race lead.
And this is where the chess games come back into play, and you know what? Liam Bowman showed it there. He closed his DRS early. Goodness me, there's a lot of mind games going on. The engineers are going to be telling their drivers, to do certain things, and sometimes the driver is just going to do what he wants to do as well. This is crunch time. You don't usually get this. Well, you do, but you don't get it to this intensity, unlike a track like Spa.
Absolutely, there is so much to think about, considering the length of the lap. You want to figure out where you're charging, where you're deploying, even for just that split second. Let alone changing the brake bias, changing your diff to make the car comply with every turn in. If you miss one of those signals, you can be put massively off momentum. You can massively disrupt yourself. And this is why Spa is such a challenge. It's why many drivers don't come to really enjoy it, but it is really separating some of these guys. I mean, not by much at all, but the DRS pack still in full flow, with Liam Bowman at the top of Radion, seeing Sammy Shemsi in his mirrors. Here he goes to the left-hand side again. Not much choice. Kai Pearson in the middle. Sammy Shemsi on the right-hand side. Sammy Shemsi doesn't commit to the move at Lake On. He will save it because it's there in the remaining 3 laps.
Yep, lap 19 of 22. We are definitely kind of, at some stage, see the men separated from the boys, maybe you could say. But Furious, lap 7 tyres in 7th place, has joined this train. We knew it would happen. Well, I say we knew it would happen. We did know it would happen because of the battling that is going on. But there was battling through all the drivers, and Liam Bowman has decided to absolutely floor it.
He has. It's one of his strengths, being able to push when he absolutely has to. I mean, he was doing that all race long last week in Portimao. He did it back in Britain, if you remember. He was as low as 7th when he made that later pit stop. But with the fresher tyres, one by one, he dispatched them until he got all the way up into the race lead. Who was behind them? Kai Pearson and Sammy Shemsi. Sammy Shemsi finishing 2nd on that day. Kai Pearson in 3rd. And it didn't come without a little bit of a heated comment from Kai Pearson regarding Sammy Shemsi and the fact that they both lost DRS to Bowman on that final lap. Feels a little bit like deja vu in that sense. Flopman around the outside of Cameron Dowds as he looks to hold on to what is still a net podium place. A vital one for Flopman as he looks to get his first in Tier 1. He's had the obviously the moment earlier in the week with F7R and in Monaco, but this time he's doing it for himself. He's doing it for his new team representatives as well. And Kai Pearson has darted to the right-hand side. Oh my word, it's 3 abreast into the corner. And he gets past both of them. Squeezes Sammy Shemsi out. Nothing wrong with that. And Sammy drops back to 3rd.
I was going to mention, with the battling with Cameron Downs and Flopman and Quantum, is that going to cause a little bit of a gap between the front runners? Nope, because they were doing exactly the same. 2.5 laps remaining here, and it is just as tasty as it was a few laps ago. Elbows out, and Kai Pearson now leading the way. There is not much in between it at all, though. And you know what? It could be anyone in that top 5 that takes victory today.
It could be. There is still no way I could predict this final lap, based on the fact that the driver in 3rd, as we've seen on repeated occasions throughout the course of this race, can just take the lead with absolute ease. You can have that double slipstream effect up towards the top of Radion. And what I'm seeing here is a Liam Bowman AlphaTauri attempting to give Kai Pearson a gap. I could see a bit of backing up here.
That's interesting. Over 1 second. Is Liam Bowman being paid? Let's wonder. Let's think about that as Shazoo Rick goes into the pits. We've lost 4 drivers of this race, or is that an incident at the?
That's a crash. Front left tyres come straight off. It seems like a massive one there.
Now, actually, I'm saying, is it backing up, or is it allowing a better run for the both of them to attack Kai Pearson? Because both Sammy and Liam Bowman have got the pace advantage over the drivers behind. Maybe they don't want the extra hassle of the drivers behind.
Maybe Liam Bowman just wants to be 3rds and just allow Sammy Shemsi, without overtaking Kai Pearson, to to have that position? I'm really not sure at this stage, unless it was a mistake, But I mean, he looked slower visually coming through the middle of Sector 2 and then on to Sector 3, where I really noticed that gap started to come over a second. Either way, that's now null and void, essentially, that argument, because Sammy Shemsi has a clear run on Kai Pearson now. He'll be fighting so hard through this final sector of track to get as close as he possibly can. He's so far off the circuit there as well, over that white lines. Penalty jeopardy, potentially, for Sammy Shemsi as he continues to try and avoid warnings. We have a lap remaining in this race. The gaps are a bit bigger, but Sammy Shemsi wants his first win of the season. He's not got one yet.
Yep, he's probably feeling a little missed out. They're getting very close to Kai Pearson again, and maybe Liam Bowman's seen it from a point of view, and you mentioned earlier that from third to first, but I think the gap is too big. And in the background, I think Furious and Tim are battling away as they head down the start-finish straight. Sammy Shemsi is going to throw everything at Kai Pearson as they head on down through into Radion en Eau Rouge and then into the Kemmel Straight. I wonder if there's enough gap or if there's enough in that McLaren to attack down through the Kemmel Straight they go. Liam Bowman is very, very close to the back end of that McLaren. I don't think they're going to get close to Kai Pearson. Kai Pearson's gone away, and Liam Bowman is surely going to take second place away from Sammy Shemsi. He is. It means that Liam Bowman is going to take victory for the second week running.
Liam Bowman, that is ridiculous racecraft. I don't know how he could have judged, possibly, that he had the straight line speed over Sammy Shemsi. This is 22 laps worth of analysis, noticing that Sammy Shemsi may have slightly more downforce on the car. He had no right to let him through. He had no right to give him potentially a clear run at Kai Pearson and still make the move anyway. It's brilliant stuff from Liam Bowman once again. Kai Pearson will take the on-track credentials, you'd think, but this, for the first time this season, could be a driver winning back-to-back races.
He has done a fantastic job. So is Kai. Well, so is everyone. Flotman getting past Cameron Dowds as well. Finally through that. Quantum's had a great race. But you know what? I don't think Kai Pearson's going to fall down the order as much as he has with that penalty. Tim getting past Quantum. But it really got to see this man as he goes across the line. It's not been a perfect race. It's not been ideal. He's got a penalty to his name, so he's going to fall down the order. But Kai Pearson is going to take the flag. But it's Liam Bowman who has done absolutely incredible here tonight, by leading by 0.4, and Kai Pearson down to 5th place by 0.08 of a second behind Cameron Dowds.
I've worked out the numbers. I'll talk about the numbers shortly, but it is time to absolutely hail Liam Bowman for what he has just done over the course of that race. An unbelievable performance, and that dream that he was sort of hinting at last week. He kept it quiet, didn't he? He was a man of very few responses, but he knew that he had something else in his locker, and he has pulled that straight out of the hat today and raises aloft the Scottish flag on the podium. Looking up to Lucas Blakely, of course. That was a very similar performance to what the 2022 F1 Esports champion was capable of. The full results shortly then, but what a race that was.
Wow, what a race. Flotman's had a great race as well. We can't discount him. Cameron Dowds, Sammy Shemsi. There's been a lot of incredible drives today. The game giving it to Sammy Shemsi as driver of the day. But you know what? Liam Bowman's gone for further, and I'll pose the question to you. And also, we've got to think Enzo had his time penalty removed last race. Will Kai Pearson get that done as well? Oh, God. Time will tell on that for that one from the steward side, but it's Liam Bowman that took victory from Sammy Shemsi. Flotman in third, rounding out the podium position. Cameron Dowds finished where he started in 4th place. Kai Pearson in 5th, 6th to Quantum, 7th to Furious, 8th to Murphy, getting some more points. Keke in 9th, 10th to Tim, and that rounds out the point scoring position. Then we had Moba, Knuth, Enzo, Stefano, Agonised, Tails as your finishers, and non-finishers to Shizou Rick, Shizou Macho, Francesco and Gabor there. And wow, this is why Spa shouldn't leave the calendar, I think, in my opinion, even in real F1, because it's always about the strategic race, not necessarily about the race that's out in front of you.
There was so much forward thinking today, and we saw that with the first pit stops from Enzo, everybody else following in, Sammy Shemsey being a little bit proactive as well in joining everybody else on the mediums despite starting on the hard tyres. That was a lot of fun. Like I said, I love this circuit. I am very much looking forward to seeing it in person. I know I've mentioned that a few times, but do not leave us. Spa, please do not leave us. I'm not sitting here commentating in Madrid in future games, even though I might well be. But either way, hopefully we can talk to our championship contender, because he does like an interview, does Liam Bowman. We'll see if he's able to pop in.
He likes a short interview, I think is the best way to describe it. One-word answers, which is fine. We're good with one-word answers. But yeah, what a race. I mean, I don't want to say it wasn't what we were expecting at all, because we know what it's going to be like at Spa. We know that it's going to be a little bit more forward-thinking, but you don't get that much better than Liam Bowman and his thought process there. And it'll be interesting to know if that was his thought process or if there was a mistake.
Yeah, it was tough to tell. I mean, it just looked like suddenly he'd dropped off a few tenths, and then he just sort of, continued backing off a little bit. But, GG's all around. There was nothing dirty at the front. Kai Pearson confirming, actually, that he forgot to get a race director, but he did have, I think, 4 or 5 warnings in that race, having had a further look on his own race director. So I don't think he'll be able to get it removed, in which case that leaves Kai Pearson on 110 points, Enzo pointless, so scores still remains on 92, and Liam Bowman is up to 99. That is now an 11-point deficit for Liam Bowman to try and overturn in the final 2 rounds. How does that sound?
Wow, it's going to be an absolute entertainer at Austria. More fireworks, maybe? We don't know. We're just going to wait a little bit longer to see if anyone pops through. But obviously, Liam Bowman, absolute amazing racecraft and decision-making through that one. Is he deserving of driver of the day, or is there anyone else in that mix that deserves it, like the game giving it to Sammy Shemsey?
Yeah, Sammy made a lot of moves, of course, and I was actually quite a fan of his strategy starting on the hards, and he very almost made it work. Was it the downforce level that cost him? Of course, he would have been driving on whatever he felt most comfortable with, but I think Liam Bowman's just enter that race. You thought, oh, he's not gonna win this. He's just let Sammy through, really, but no, he still did. He overcame absolutely everything once again, much in the manner that he did last week.
Yeah, fantastic through that. And obviously, Kai, he must be bitterly disappointed with that penalty and costing him possibly a massive chance of saying, yeah, I'm the champion.
Yeah, it wasn't the best outcome for Kai, of course. He would have hoped that Liam Bowman wasn't applying as much pressure as he would have done, but either way, Enzo unable to score, making that doubly as costly mistake than what Kai Pearson had with the penalty. So more points on the board, and again, another top 5 finish. He hadn't finished lower than 3rd so far this season, but that now drops to 5th.
Yeah, it's just looking at the chat. Just he is desperate to see if anyone got a race director for him, but it's not looking
No,
it's not looking favourable for him. Plus, you know what Luke's like. He might just
he'll find a rule.
Yeah, he'll find a rule. Okay, Austria next week. It's still all to play for. 3 drivers still with a huge chance of it. It's. I don't want to say it's too close to call. Obviously, Kaya's got a massive hand on that title. It's only 11 points. It's larger than it was this week, but the swing seems to be very much in Liam Bowman's favour.
Yeah, that is such good form to go into a fairly straightforward track in terms of Austria. I mean, it can very quickly go wrong at the hairpin or whatever circumstance you want to make up 7 days before the race, but it's a good track to really go in on a high note, and qualifying will be potentially a bit of a lottery, but if he can start in and around that top 5, top 10, we can see how effectively he can make moves. There is a brilliant opportunity for him to overturn that even further next week.
Now, this is a horrible question. 2 races to go. Who do you think is going to take victory of the title? Who's going to claim the title?
Wow. The thing is, I'm not biased at all. I would love equally if Kai, Bowman, Enzo, even Sammy could all have a share of it, because over the course of the season, it has been a phenomenal race. But in this sort of form, I'd back Bowman. I do.
The pad man, who probably doesn't need a rig. But you know what? Yeah, he's got some he has been incredible so far, hasn't he?
That's the irony of it. He'd win a rig, but where's he putting it?
He's using his pad and doing like that.
Yeah.
It's sat in his rig. But no, yeah, definitely. But fair play. He's turned it on. Tonight, last week, he's always been quick. He's always been great. But it's like a different Liam Bowman.
He is different. I mean, this pad championship that was possibly happening tomorrow, I don't know if he is. He has one hand on that, whatever title it is, before it's even started. He is so unstoppable on his day. He's got a perfect blend of aggression and racecraft and strategy, setup, everything. He is a complete driver, and that completion would be even more complete with the pinnacle of console racing to his name in terms of WR Tier 1.
Definitely will be. But thank you, everyone. I suppose we were going to have no interviews there. No one seems to want to speak to myself or Joseph. Perhaps we smell, perhaps we don't look great. I'm not sure. Or perhaps they're just too busy playing something else. But it's been absolutely incredible here at Spa tonight. We're going to move from the forest of Spa-Francorchamps and move to the Styrian Hills for just as incredible race, hopefully, as we've seen tonight. But thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye out for all the other all the other tiers, I should say, and also the PC Tier 1 of sides of things, because it is always incredible racing. But for now, thank you and good night.